Beautiful, beautiful brothers and sisters. So honored to be coming on with a little bit of a collective awareness. You may have noticed that my message has shifted quite a bit in my new earth vibration and in the new earth expression of my truth. And so one of the things that has really helped me to navigate from the old earth to the new earth frequency is the recognition around currency, monetary provisions, foundations of support. And during this process, I have become aware of many different things in relation to New Earth. And if this is something that vibrates in resonance to you, you want to be a New Earth embodied either leader or individual living in a New Earth land location, or you're here for the forefront of the golden ages, then please do join us in Bring the New Earth Tribe, where you can receive all of the pathways, creation, consciousness information, and New Earth training on how to support you in that transition. However, what we're talking about today is around an awareness of what is taking place for the New Earth prosperity and for the pathways of prosperity. So what we currently see in our old earth paradigm is spirituality lives in scarcity. You have the entrepreneurial expression of consciousness that live in control. Then you have personal development that are in lack. And so what happens is, if you look around in our human collective and our human experience, you'll find that many of these different pockets are in some form of either push or pull energy. And there is an inability to be in what you would either call sustainability or reciprocity. And the New Earth prosperity pathways are built on reciprocity and sustainability. And so New Earth currency and any form of business and service paradigms require us to recognize this. Now, the shift that I've taken is because I can recognize that my contribution to the human collective depends on those that are really willing to deconstruct these paradigms, to deconstruct the scarcity, the lack, the undeserving, the spiritual narratives, the awareness of, I think I heard someone say yesterday to me that they're just back on the hustle. And I was like, ooh, we are definitely functioning from different realities. And there's nothing wrong with that. Hustle, you know, if you just feel into hustle, hustle has a contraction in the heart. Hustle pulls the solar plexus in, and it doesn't allow for flow or your feminine energy. Now, we are all made up of masculine and feminine, and this is for us to be aware of that currency, reciprocity, and these new pathways of prosperity are in a level of masculine and feminine receptivity of self. So you can be the penetrative force. You can have the forefront focus. And this is where you get to redefine those 5-10-year goals, because they're real. They are real in the New Earth, but they come from a different paradigm of thinking. They come from visioning from your sacred heart forward. They come from this awareness of looking into the future around what it is that you're here to continue to take those Kaizen steps, those small incremental steps, step by step on your highest timeline, so that you can create a generative foundational support, something that will provide you nourishment and nurture your purpose, nurture your human being. And so we have a lot of distorted belief systems around scarcity, what it means to be able to give, what deservability, worthiness, all of those different human constructs that are being deconditioned and have been for quite some time, probably over the last 7 to 8 years, have been the main primary deconstruction of spiritual monk mode scarcity, lack, you know, take this away. It comes so strong within oneself, in the nothingness, in the in that barefoot energy. And so these stories, recognizing that those that are in consciousness, and so those that really, really resonate, if you want to feel into words and what is true for you, spirituality, entrepreneurship, personal development, and if you feel into consciousness. Consciousness is something that exists in both the old earth and the new earth. And if I can reflect back to my journey, I had a whole heap of individuals when I got my tattoos and I got a flower of life on me say, "Oh, you're so spiritual." And I was like, I am not spiritual. I am conscious, right? And so I had this real like spirituality. No, I am not woo-woo. I am based on the fabric of the universe, physics, science. I like see what I do is actually just the mind, and it is all logically understood. Now, of course, I hadn't developed into the depth of consciousness that I couldn't understand beyond these frameworks, but they are still very logical frameworks. They are still very much structured in this equals that. And that's how we can start to work with our reality. But these narratives, it's important to see what you're resonating at, what you're speaking at, because spirituality actually doesn't exist in the new earth. Religion doesn't exist in the new earth. Entrepreneurship has a new frequency. It's a conscious entrepreneur. The energy of that of personal development doesn't exist in the new earth. There are different vibrations and frequencies. There are certain things that are just too lower, too misconstrued and misunderstood that they cannot come and carry through because they actually function from a different reality altogether. It's not that they're wrong, they're stepping stones. And so when we're looking at the current soul group, this is a group of individuals that are recognizing that these three paradigms that I've just focused on do not work. They are not sustainable in energy. They are not sustainable in continued momentum. They have some level of push and pull. There's restrictions, limitations. There is a level of meeting oneself up against barriers and walls over and over and over. And so when you find yourself hitting an ego construct, an identity, when you meet a shadow, when you're constantly in the rise and the fall and the contraction, the expansion and the contraction, what happens is you don't get sustainable growth. You don't get sustainable creation on that. Small incremental movements forwards creates profound transformation, right? So prosperity pathways don't exist in our old earth reality. To be truly prosperous has an energy of continually growing in prosperity, opulence. The level of this frequency that is coming through is requiring us to create new pathways. And so there are pathway builders. These are what you might consider the individuals that have a new earth leadership role, that are working in the focus of their mission, their purpose, and building a level of monetary support for contributions to themselves and to the all. And so what happens is they're no longer coming from success narratives. They're no longer coming from unworthiness and needing to be validated. They're no longer coming from a form of wanting material possessions. But instead there's this allness that comes through of, I desire to meet a specific amount of individuals to build a foundation of an empire that supports the earth, the ether, the self, and the contribution of humanity. And so by doing this, what happens is there's an awareness that, yeah, I want to be wealthy. I want to be divinely wealthy in a way that does not exist on this planet. And I want to take people with me. I want this wealth to ripple through and come through every layer of my being. And I want to remind others that when they find their unique currency, energy, their unique chi, creativity, their unique kundalini, sexual expression, that all of this energy creates their sustainable expression of offering, right? So when you connect into your own unique chi, kundalini, you have your own creative interpretation of reality, you're authentic in your essence, you are attractive, you are magnetic. You hold vibrations of light that people go, I don't know what they've got, but I want some of that. What are they doing? I just want to be in their field. Because this is a level of balance, and it uses the Trinity concept. Now, the Trinity is what is important to understand if you are stepping into and resonating in that you might be a prosperity pathway builder. Because this soul group is currently creating things that don't exist, which means there's an unfamiliar territory. And it's using their own sacred trinity to find their currency that allows for the prosperity to move through them and to be offered to others. So in old earth energy, or in the old paradigm, we use polarity. If you want to master the old world, which is super fun, you need to understand masculine, feminine, light and dark, polarization. Once you understand polarization in the middle way, you are a master of that, of the duality of what has been on our earth. Now we're heading into a three-dimensional consciousness interpretation of our awareness. Not necessarily fifth dimensional, which is where there can be some misunderstandings. We are heading into a 5D interpretation of reality, yet we are actually becoming embodied in three-dimensional reality. The reality of the original creation of this experience, mother, father, child. You know, these energies that create this experience, if we want to step into our new earth interpretation of what it is that we're serving, providing, offering, we got to look at our own trinities. So with the current prosperity pathway builders, there is a calling. And the more that we call ourselves to come together in collective consciousness, the more these codes and information can be shared. The more that this information of, oh, I found this little synapses and you found this embodied energy frequency, because the body itself is finding new ways to function in these new frequencies. The mind is finding new words. So the more you connect with someone who's on the same pathway as you, you're like, oh yeah, that word is resonant. Oh, I can feel that energy. Thank you for sharing it with me. Yes, this is something that I would like to cultivate and continue to bring with me. And so there is a necessity to share. There is a necessity of group work. There is a necessity of unity. There is a necessity of co-creation. And for many of us, we're stepping from this autonomous self paradigm of, I've got my business, I do all the service, I'm holding all of these people, I need to support my family, da, 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 da. There's an autonomy of, it's all me. Even if we are co-creating, we're still feeling the pressures, we're still feeling the holding, we're still feeling I need to be the educator, the narrator, the narrator, the healer. I need to provide the information. Really, it's just enabling for a while. And so stepping out of this, I have to do this, I have to be this, I have to change the world, I have to provide, into the awareness of co-creation and into creative, collaborative conversations and connections, what happens is this information gets shared. And then these pathways of prosperity become more defined, more clear, more interpretable for someone who's not in the leading forefront of this consciousness evolution, right? Because when you're standing in that, you have to be the channel. You can't rely on outside sources. You can't rely on the things that have worked in the past, because the past, looking up history or talking to psychics or moving through the different past paradigms of education, sure, that works. It has worked really well, but it worked because you were understanding a reality that already knew all of its frameworks and was functioning. So you could build business and wealth through those structures, through control, through masculine dominance, through a level of push, through neglect, through abandonment, through all of those different ways. Yeah, because we'd built an entire reality that understood those frameworks. That there is so much education on how to be successful, be wealthy, and be abundant in areas, not wholeness, not totality, because everyone that has wealth in the old world construct also has lack in somewhere else. So if you look at some of the multi-millionaires, now I've got to meet quite a few of them, they're single, they don't have love, and some of them don't have family. Right? There's a neglect of other areas of experience. There is a loss and a longing. And this happens for many entrepreneurials. Many of the entrepreneurial men that I've got to connect with feel a deep sense of emptiness. Yeah, their outside world, the masculine outside, is really full, but their inside, their spirit connection isn't there. And then you have the opposing energy. You have the spiritual scarcity. Spiritual beings barefoot on the earth, you know, fire twirling, singing, kumbaya, all the things. They're connected. They're connected to their spirit. They're connected to their body. They're connected to the energy, the kundalini that moves through them. But their ability to generate and have sustainable outside connection creation is very limited. And so it's about bridging these realities and bringing them together. And we need to do this. We need to be able to recognize that the feminine and the masculine need to come into unity. And then unity, self, other, all, right? So these are the three pillars. What is it that would create more prosperity for me as an individual? How would that prosperity create more for others in my life? And how would that prosperity be of support to the allness? So when I'm working and creating things, I'm asking, is this in service to the earth and the ether? Is this in service to me and to other? And if I don't get a yes on one of those 4 quadrants of information, then it's not in alignment for me because it's not in new earth resonance. And that won't create sustainable business, sustainable purpose, and sustainable growth. Now, I see so many beautiful, amazing leaders that are trying to step out of the old earth into the new earth, and they're still draining themselves. They're still serving so much. Their energy reservoirs are dropping. They pull back. They do so much service, give, create, get sick. I can't see people. I need to nourish myself. I need to go on a detox. I need to do this. That's not sustainability. That's not having a functioning ecosystem. That's not a prosperous life. So for those that are choosing to create these prosperity pathways, my invitation is to ask yourself if you're working in all 4 quadrants. So is your mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional able to sustain what it is you're creating? Are you receptive as well as in the offering? Can you receive in your mental? Can you receive in your spiritual? Can you receive in your physical? Can you receive in your emotional? If there's a no, then what is the receiving blocks? What is it that needs a perspective shift, a new focus in the forward, right? New earth prosperity, new earth business, new earth creation is I stand here, I look forward to where I'm going. I am aware of where I've been, but I don't continue to look back. I don't continue to drag things with me. That's going to become extreme baggage. And the people that are tethering between these realities could tether there for a long time if we're not recognizing what am I bringing in my quadrants that are not supporting me to have sustainable currency. With these prosperity pathways, what is it that is preventing me from seeing the truth of what I'm creating in my new earth reality? Now, there will be certain things that will keep you from the prevention of your vision, of your own oracle, your own prophecy. And that will prevent you from developing a clear, clean pathway of resonance. Because we're not actually running from contracts, oaths, vows, and agreements anymore. We're not running from exchanges. We're running from the pure point of a clean slate, which means that what you're creating, you're building the pathway forward. It's not built for you. New earth, guess what? No timelines. Woo! We get real pure creation. You get to create what is true for you to vision forward. You get to redirect your pathway. You don't have to meet specific juncture points. There is no choice points. There's only re-navigation, redirection, interpreting, right? These things that we've ran in for so long cannot and do not have a place. And so when you're stepping into this new earth and you're building your prosperity, your abundance, your purpose, it is important for you to ask yourself, if I'm still clinging to some of these narratives of spirituality, then they are preventing me from being in the clean slate, the purity, the divinity of what I came here for. And so if you have a big spiritual identity, time to start to deconstruct it. If you're still focused on the paradigms of business, marketing, and what is, time to look at what your attachments are to it. If you still feel like personal development, you're attached to things like health, movement, different narratives of what is good and bad, what is supportive for the body, time to deconstruct it. Because in truth, when we step over that threshold, when you become embodied in New Earth, you're unique. You're creating from the pure dimensional expression of your own consciousness, and none of those frameworks sit or fit. And they will pull you back, and that's where you will push and pull. You won't get that sustainable movement, that sustainable continual growth. So my invitation for those that are feeling this pull to being a creator of the prosperity pathways is, have you stepped onto your dharmic path? Are you walking the path of your sacred heart? Or are you still bringing your karma, your past, your baggage, your heaviness with you? And if it is time for you to step into the development of your lifelong mission, right? This is commitment. This is devotion. This is, I am here for this, and I am ready to start to build the foundations. Because that's what New Earth is building, foundations. So you're not going to build an empire in 6 months. You're not going to go from nothing to overnight success. That doesn't work, because it's about sustainability, which means slow movement, not expand, contract. If this continued growth, so that you end up with that of a legacy of your life experience is true for you, then maybe it's time that we connect. Maybe it's time that you're like, yeah, I want to invest in this, because it's an investment. You're investing in every layer of your being. You're not only investing in every layer of your being, you're investing in every layer of your being as well as every layer of everyone else's being. You're investing in the earth's frameworks, the ether and the firmament, the ability to hold higher dimensional consciousness in embodied form. That is an investment. That means time, energy, money. That means placing yourself in the recognition of, you say you're here for change? Really? What are you doing? How consistent are you with change? How consistent are you with showing up? How consistent are you with creating that forward focused vision and not allowing other distractions to come in? Now, it's actually quite easy once you pivot the focus, but it does require a little bit of support, because the mind has been heavily conditioned and it is full of densities, and it will pull you back. And if you're surrounded by paradigms of old earth functioning, you will find it very challenging to stay focused on where you're going. That's why I isolated myself for 9 months. And then I stepped into a co-creative space once I was strong enough to be able to hold the pathways of New Earth with people that were still choosing old earth timelines, old earth paradigms. I was able to assist them to pivot their thinking. I was able to further clarify the pathways of consciousness, because that's what we've embodied here. We've embodied a New Earth consciousness, not a New Earth reality, not New Earth businesses, not New Earth identities or expressions or souls. We've embodied New Earth consciousness. That's as far as we've gone. We're now building the frameworks. And so we need to support each other by offering that conscious perspective, by offering what that feels like, by offering a different pathway, and recognizing that this is a step-by-step process. It is the investment for the rest of your life. If you resonate with New Earth, then you're on this mission for the rest of your life. Otherwise, if you're not, it's okay, step back. It makes it easier for all of us. If there's someone that's not willing to invest moment to moment, small, committed choices into this pathway of creation, this golden earth planet, then it is easier for all of us that if you're not invested, master two-dimensional reality, master duality. That's just as supportive, because instead of stepping into a reality or a paradigm that is not your truth, that disturbs the entire consciousness field and creates reverberation that needs alchemy and creates further resistance to those pathways being created, we're able to say, thank you, I love you. Right? That's important, to choose what we're really choosing. Old earth paradigms, or Gaia, if we see it as Gaia in two-dimensional is an amazing mastery. Look around, look at our history. There is amazing mastery in our history. Do that, do it wholeheartedly. If you're choosing new earth, choose it wholeheartedly. If you're not ready for either, stand in the middle way in the discomfort of that unknown, knowing that you will have prosperity, scarcity. You'll have connection, disconnection. That's what it is. And allow that to give you some power in sovereign choice. So if these prosperity pathways are true for you, send me an email. Let's connect and talk about how I can be in offering and service to your pathway in the new earth in this transition. I love you, I love you, I love you. Comment, please, like, share, and get this message out to those that are ready to receive it.